Macro Detectors is the fastest growing manufacturer in the industry, and for good reason. Many detectorists, including Mike Hare, call us the most innovative, but we are so much more than that. We listen to and care about our customers. We also offer a wide range of detectors to fit all of your needs. Come check out all of our products today at www.noctadetectors.com. Detectors for everyone, everywhere, a lifetime.
Welcome to the All Metal Mode podcast with your host, Michael Hare. Tune in every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern with co-host Gypsy Jules, and every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern with Matt Hoffman as we talk to guests, discuss metal detectors, equipment, and everything treasure related. Feel free to join in the discussion in the chat room during the show, and please, if you like what you hear, we'd appreciate you taking a moment to hit that like button and share the link with your friends. We hope you enjoy the show. The All Metal Mode podcast starts right now.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the All Metal Mode podcast with myself, Mike Hare, and Mr. Dorian Cook tonight. So I don't know if you caught last night's show with Amanda. Oh, I mess up her last name. Digaz, I think. Matt and Gypsy, they had a great time, great show with her. If you missed it, go back and check it out. It was a great show. You can find us on Facebook at All Metal Mode, as well as All Metal Mode Podcast UK. All Metal Mode is every Monday and Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and All Metal Mode UK is every Thursday at 8 p.m. GMT or 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget, you can find us on Spreaker. You can download us from there. You can also listen to us off of Spreaker. You can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and YouTube. And then there's some other affiliates I'm not even sure of that run through iTunes. So a lot of places to find us. Dirt Digest magazine, July issue is out if you haven't seen it. August issue is coming soon, and boy, am I excited about that. We got some really big things going on. It's a free online magazine. You can check it out at dirtdigestmagazine.com. So if you get a chance, check that out. We're always looking for articles. You don't have to be a writer. You can submit the articles. You can reach out to me. I'll help you. I'll edit it, help you write it, anything you need. So yeah, we're also looking for good finds every month for the magazine. And just you can go on the website again, dirtdigestmagazine.com, and somewhere on there it's treasure room. Submit your find and give us a little backstory to it. There's a section to fill that out, and we'll put it in the next issue. So there you go. Please help spread the word about the All Metal Mode podcast. Tell everybody you know into metal detecting. We'd sure appreciate it. And yeah, tonight we're gonna. Keith and Dorian are both very skilled at spit it out, Mike. Seated hunts. There we go. And so they're going to talk about seated hunts and how to, what to expect, how to be successful at them, all that kind of stuff. So, hey, Dorian, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, doing great. How you doing, Mike? You feeling better?
Yeah, I sure am.
Good.
Sure am. Yeah, definitely getting better. Rough last week, but We're making it. You had a rough week too.
Yeah, except mine was just mechanical problems. Everything I had with the motor kept breaking down, from lawnmowers to vehicles.
Yeah, mine was mechanical too. It was just me breaking down.
Ah, there you go.
Just me breaking down. So you getting everything back straight and around?
I hope we're making progress. Between my place and my son-in-law and daughter's place next door, we have 4 riding mowers, and all 4 of them are down.
Oh,
one's in the repair shop, and I bought a used one that had very few hours on it, and I thought, okay, this will get me by until I get my regular mowers repaired, and then I can sell this one. And it started twice, and now it won't start.
Oh my goodness!
So anyway,
it'll get better. It's got to get better.
That's life. Yeah. That's life.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really excited about this. We kind of come up, I'll tell the listeners, it's been me. I've been slacking a little bit, had some stuff going on, and extra kid that we're not used to, and I've just been slacking. But right before the show, I was gonna. We've been wanting to get Keith back on anyhow, because that guy's got some stories. I don't know if I told you, but the last time I talked to him on the phone, well, I talked to him today, but I talked to him last week, and he told me some great stories, and I thought, well, man, we got to get him on again. But so I got a hold of him today because we didn't have anything going on, and you came up with a really good idea that both of you are really knowledgeable about, and I'm excited to talk about that with you guys, or at least hear you talk about it.
Okay. If I might ask, Mike, if I could make a few comments, and I would like to ask Keith a question and get him going on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let me just say that between Keith and I, we have sponsored, organized, and put on some really huge, big, they call them seated hunts. We used to call them prize hunts. Seated hunt, basically, by definition, is where you have coins and prize tokens buried in a field, and you pay an entry fee, and everybody lines up, and when the signal's given, you go out and you hunt those. Now, it sounds simple to describe, and yet it is definitely a specialized skill in terms of doing consistently well in these hunts, and part of that skill is knowing which hunts to go to and which hunts to avoid. And we want to talk about all of that. And Keith, I would like to ask you, if you don't mind, we're going to get into specifics about different techniques and things for doing well. Oh, excuse me. Another area of these, not a seated hunt, but what we all call competition hunting, where targets like painted pennies are buried, and whoever finds the most of those targets in the time allotted would be the winner. And they usually get a trophy and prizes. Sometimes it's prize money, sometimes it's prizes, this type of thing. So basically, most hunts in the past have included competition events and then seated hunts too. And I have not been going to these hunts here in recent years, so I don't know if competition hunts are kind of going by the wayside. Keith is more up to date on that, and he can tell us what a seated hunt or what a treasure hunting event along these lines looks like these days. Keith, would you go ahead, please, and give us some comments about how a beginner, someone who's not gotten into or what I call organized treasure hunting, can get started with some reasonable hope of reasonable success. Go ahead.
Well, I've taken some new people to the hunts in the last 2 years that was pretty much, I guess, talked into it by me, the good time that you would have there. And so I kind of know what I tell them and how I instruct them to enjoy the hunt and find more and be more successful at it. So Yeah, I've had some new type people join in, and so it's been a different ball game than it has been in earlier years.
Can you describe?
They're pretty much the same, though. I mean, there's not a wide variation. If there's any wide variation, it's usually one that I put on because I'm always pulling something out of the hat that nobody expects. So,
Keith, there are a lot of choices out there in the course of a season or a year that where people could go to different organized treasure hunting events like this. Do you have any tips that would help them? You and I both know that some of those hunts, the people who sponsor them, and I'm not going to get into specifics or make any accusations, but it is a fact of life that some of the hunts, the people who put them on are very mercenary, and they're interested, number one, in making a big profit on the hunt. And a lot of times they'll cut corners and put out cheap coins and things. And when you get into the price not expecting to do well, you discover, you're digging things like wheat pennies instead of silver dimes, things like that. Is there any way, Keith, that you know of that beginners especially can pick the better hunts to try their luck at?
Well, yeah, the difference is nowadays, especially with silver cost is up higher, and you still have to have enough targets in the field per person to make it a successful hunt and feel like that it wasn't over in the first 10 minutes since you blew the whistle. And so you do see a lot of those wheat pennies and stuff like that added fillers in the hunt. Sometimes it's just better to think of expanding the range, the borders of the hunt to make it a little bit wider and spread out, and then causes more people to hunt closer and trying to cover more ground than they have been in the past. But as far as selecting a hunt, I usually look at the ones that's been the most successful down the way. Those people that have those type of hunts know how to put on a hunt. If they're just starting out, it's usually a iffy deal. You don't know if somebody that really knows how to sponsor one is doing it, and if they're a learning curve, it's always a learning curve, every one that you put on. But the other thing is that I look at the price of the hunt. Everybody's trying to keep the price down, but reality tells you that if it's going to be a good, successful hunt with good coins in it and good prizes, it's going to cost you a little bit. And it's all in what you feel like that you enjoy doing. It's like going on a vacation. You say, well, we can go about 40 miles that way and then come back home, or we can go to Colorado and enjoy a week up there and then come back to the house stuff. So how much are you going to spend? It's not that every planted hunt has to be expensive, but it's all in who's raising money for the hunt, who's donating to the hunts and stuff like that makes it a better hunt in the long run. So I always look at the pricing of it. I look at the background, putting the hunt on, or if it's a new hunt, I've seen some people that's in the sponsoring of it that's done hunts in the past. And, of course, to a new person, that's a little hard to figure out, and probably your best bet is to try some of the closer local hunts, larger hunts that's around you, and see how you like it and how you fare in it, and seeing how everybody else does around you. There's always going to be a handful of complainers because they got 10 and the other guy got 21. It's that's always somebody's going to come out on the low end stick, and some people are going to come out on the high end. But I've won my share over the years actually participating in hunts like that, as far as prizes and stuff like that. So
right.
It can pay in the long run too.
Good point. I like your point about starting out with local hunts. The local treasure hunting clubs in cities close to you. I think that's a good way to get started. Keith, would you think it would be a good idea, maybe for a brand new person without a lot of experience in metal detecting, to actually just attend one or two of these events as an observer and not get necessarily involved, but just watch everybody else so they would have a very accurate idea of what to expect if they get in the hunts?
Well, if you don't observe, that's the whole key to the hunt, how successful you will be. You really do need to sit through a day of hunts or a couple of days of hunts and just watch them. There's different kind of hunters out there. They cover ground different ways. A lot of people do what I call bushwhacking, and they're just all over the place, including swinging their detector up knee-high on each end and stuff, and that's what we call bushwhacking, and you can't detect anything up there. You got to cover your ground. And so you learn to rotate your wrist in the swing so you're actually covering an arc in front of you instead of a straight line from end to end. And that helps you a whole lot, keeping the call at the same distance off the ground and covering your ground more thoroughly. And most of these competition hunts are seeded hunts. Only bury the item down an inch or so under the dirt. It's not very deep. And they do that for a number of reasons. One is they want the tokens to be found and given away, the prizes. And they want the money that's buried out there, the coins that they buried, they want it to also end up in somebody's pocket. That's the whole purpose of the hunt, and everybody having a good time. But they also do it so that you don't dig foxholes in the middle of the field. There's a thing I insist on in mine, and that's that you always kick your dirt back in the hole and step on it before you leave. If I catch you not doing that, I have a rule when I'm sponsoring a hunt. I take survey flag with me and a survey ribbon, and if I catch you one time leaving your holes open, and this is a club-sponsored event or some kind of sponsored event that reflects back on those in that organization, if it's left that way, the landowner or the park owner or whatever would see this. And so I make a point to tell everybody before they go out that they must cover their holes. And if they need to know how to cover their holes, I'll tell them. It don't take but just one kick of the boot and get it back in the hole and step on it. But most of those, I tell them, too, that the items are very, very shallow, so they don't have to dig big pits. Because there may be other things out there that's, targets deeper, but that's not what we're interested in this. And if I flag them once, they're on, just jury duty there. But when I flag them the second time, they're out of the hunt, even if they paid for the hunt. That's the rules. The rules are is to reclaim your hole and make it look like you haven't been there pretty much. So,
guys, real quick, we have we have a question, and I want to say something real quick.
Yeah.
We have I lost it from. Hold on. Do you use any kind of special tool to bury the prizes and stuff, or the tokens or coins, whatever you're burying?
They vary from club to club. There could be bayonets. It could be long pipes that have sharpened ends. They stick in the ground and drop the coin down the pipe, and it goes into the slit that's opened up by the blade-like end of the tool. There's custom tools. There's small shovels. I think about everything's been used, hasn't it, Keith?
Just about, yeah.
Anything you guys would recommend to somebody that's putting on we got a guy up in Ontario who's putting on an event for his club.
Okay. We had on the big hunts, like the Garrett hunt we did in '79, where we buried 140,000 coins and tokens in one field. we had special tools which we designed. We took pipe that was probably 1.25 inches in diameter, and we welded feet on two sides of it, and then we added a long, narrow, scooped-out blade. You could stick that thing in the ground and tilt upwards. It would open a hole, and the blade was welded on top of the pipe so that when you dropped a coin down the top of the pipe, it actually went into the hole you just dug. And that was the fastest way I have ever seen to bury coins. But again, I've buried many coins in hunts with nothing more than a bayonet. And by the way, for you folks that are just getting started, you don't have to dig a plug. Look for the knife cut or whatever tool they used. It's a blade. It's going to be a blade-like cut. Look for that blade-like cut and just, take your digging tool and just pop that thing open, and there'll be the coin right in front of you. And you can just grab it with your fingers, put it in your pouch, and go. Don't stand there admiring your coin that you dig out of the ground. Oh, look, I got a barber dime. Yes, well, in the time it takes you to admire it and rub the dirt off of it, which will make Mike hair mad because he doesn't like coins rubbed. But, in the time you do that, you lost 2 more silver dimes because somebody else dug them while you were doing all this admiration thing. So don't worry about what you found. Just get it in your pouch and go on to the next signal. And if I may offer some real good advice here, weight is a factor. You don't need a $2,000 XP Deus or a Mine Lab Equinox or whatever for a competition hunt. You need a lightweight detector with a quick response coil. The all-time champion competition hunter used about a $100 detector, and he won hunt after hunt. His name was Jesse Blackshire back in the day, as they say. He did not use an expensive detector. Because of the shallow depth, you don't need the bells and whistles, and don't take your carrot out there on the field. If you have to use a pinpointer in a seated hunt, you've already lost, folks. Would you agree, Keith?
Absolutely. If you got to stop and pinpoint your target, somebody else has dug 4 to your one item already.
Yeah. So those are, there's little things like this. All these things add up to success. That's why you need to go watch and watch people. Watch the ones that are successful. Ask people after the hunt, how many coins did you find, or how many silver dimes, or how many prize tokens, these kind of things. They'll tell you. And, talk to them. Do you have any suggestions for a beginner? A lot of these people will tell you, sure, do this, this, and this. But see, that's all. If you haven't done this before, you might be good at hunting the parks and school grounds, but you're not good at seated hunts yet. You have to pay your dues, and you have to be prepared. Your first 2 or 3 hunts, you might not do all that good. Keith, how did you do on competition hunting in your day?
I did pretty well. I used to be fast. I'm what you call one foot in the grave now, so I'm not fast at all anymore. So I used to be where you had time, barely could see me moving around because I was going so fast, but fast has left me. So, there's several different kinds of. If you can make a competition out of any planted hunt, if you want to. But now, like old Van Fossen used to have a competition that was a deep seeker hunt, and it took real good knowledge how to hunt a deep seeking hunt. That's where they, instead of planting the coins just slightly on the ground, you're planting them 6 to 10 inches deep.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Huh. And in order to find those coins, you take, say, just a dime and plant it 6 inches deep. What's going to happen to you is that signal's going to be very small, and you're going to have to be directly over that signal to even hear that dime, or otherwise you leave more targets behind you than you actually heard from your detector. So you have to hunt a slower, tighter pattern in order to cover the ground and find those deeper planted coins. And then it's a digging technique after that. You got to learn to dig and find that coin. And in a lot of cases on a deep seeker hunt, you do pinpoint. But most of the time, the ones that are really good at it never have to use the pinpoint button at all. And that just means that they get over it and wiggle the detector kind of quick over the spot when they hear a sound and narrow it down to knowing right within a scoop of dirt where the target is.
Yeah, and you always look for the dig hole.
Yeah.
Always look for the dig hole. And then that'll save you time. If you spot the dig hole, you know where to dig.
And a lot of times they use a sharp digger, and they put it in at an angle, usually at a 45 or a little steeper than that at a 30. And they'll slide the coin up in there. They'll take that digger and stick it in there, lift it up, and toss the coin under the digger and slide the digger out and step on the dirt, and you can't see where they put it in the ground. You get a good target there, but you can't see a slit or anything. And what we used to do there, especially now that they come up with those Lesky diggers and stuff that's L-shaped blade, it's got that step down and long blade on it. The first ones that came out were called the Turner diggers. It was like that. And I always used mine to just, once I got anywhere close to a pinpoint or close to where I thought it was, I'd stick it in the ground at about 45 and push down. When you did that, then the slit that they cut to put that coin in there would open up like a clamshell.
Exactly.
And you just reach in there and pull the coin right out, and you're on your way. And all you did is step on the spot and cover it up again when you just closed the shell, basically, is what you did. So you had no dirt, no pile of dirt out to one side or anything, and that puts you right on the move for the next target.
Excellent, Keith. Excellent advice. I hope everybody that's considering getting into cedar hunts really pays attention to that one. Let's go back to for a minute though on starting a newbie out on this. Okay.
The idea is he's going to get out there and he or she, and is going to see a lot of fast movement by a lot of fast people out there trying to get theirs up front. Okay. He doesn't need to be, or she doesn't need to be fast. She just needs to be consistent. You want to cover your ground so you're not leaving anything, because the very thing that somebody's in a hurry and jumps past is a prize token that's worth $750 detector. You know, how much would you like to have that? All because you dug the right token to win that particular prize. So a lot of times, and it's not always a detector, it may be a set of headphones, it may be a nice digger, it could be a tumbler for you cleaning your coins, it can be a lot of things. I've even won $10 gold pieces where they told me there was 8 gold coins in the field on tokens. Well, a gold coin goes a long ways, and it's easy to carry home. So what you do is you be consistent. If you watch, you'll see a thing that nearly happens in every planted hunt, seeded hunt like that, is that all these people on the outside line that lined up to start, and they blow the whistle or shoot the horn, everybody tries to run to the middle. Well, they just ran over a bunch of tokens, ran over a bunch of coins. Start right there at the line. Start swinging. Plant up to that line.
Yeah.
Start moving and covering some area. Pick you a spot. You don't have to cover the whole field because you're out there. Just pick you a spot and hunt. And when you start getting more people in that spot and less people bending down and digging, then move to a different part of the field. Look up and see where all the people are bending down. That's where the bulk of the coins are, and you need to move that away. But keep swinging as you move. Don't just pick your detector up, throw it over your shoulder, and walk out there. Be sure to just work your way over. You'll always end up finding a good target or two on the way there. And you'll create a new spot that's heavily laden and missed by even the large crowd that you have out there will miss that spot.
Yeah.
And you'll get 4 or 5 nice targets out of it. Bang, bang, bang.
That's a good point. That's the one I was going to mention, Keith. one of my favorite tricks was to take about 3 steps forward with my detector, then turn around and go right back to the line and turn left or right and go down the line, the starting line, swinging, a full swing to the left and right. And I know one hunt, I found a line of tokens. I dug 6 prize tokens in a row doing that. While everybody else had moved out to the middle of the field, I had that whole area to myself.
Yeah, that actually brings up another issue. When people are planting a field, they're planting those coins out there. One person usually controls all the prize tokens. You may or may not know which person that is. If you do know who it is, they're very, very smart if they mix in a handful of Indian head pennies or dimes with that and go out there and plant those along with the tokens so people can't follow their trace going across the field and try to pick up on a line that they're burying tokens at. See, I zigzag all over the field when I'm burying my tokens. And it's liable to be an Indian head penny, it's liable to be a silver dime or silver quarter, and then it's bang, a token here. But I try to equally lay the prize tokens out. I know how much in a quadrant I need buried, and each quadrant needs to have the same amount in it as I bury them. It takes years to learn how to bury correctly on a field and do it without people recognizing and thinking they know your niche. And I changed mine up too regular, so they give up on me. They say, well, this is a Keith hunt, and guarantee you it's going to be honest. There's no way that it can be anything but. And I make it.
Good point. Good point. Keith, go, Mike, you got anything?
Yes, a couple things. Hey, Dorian, when you're not talking, if you can hit your mute button, that'd be great. We're getting some pretty bad feedback at times, although it has cleared up some.
Let me try dropping the volume, Mike. How about right now? How's that? Does that solve the feedback?
So far, we're good. As soon as Keith starts talking, we get some weird feedback and stuff. But we'll give that a try.
Dorian something to talk about now. Keith talks, we get feedback.
Well, I think it's through Dorian's computer. I think I'm not positive, but Bill said another a good tip is look for. He's saying whoever plants it, a lot of times they tend to run in a straight line. Look for that pattern when you're doing it. And I something I didn't mention. If we have anybody tuning in, and if you want, jump into the chat with us. We'd love to have you. We're having a good old time in here. And all you do when you're in listening, a bar pops up with the pause button and all that. There's a bubble. It'll either be square or round. It'll look like a cloud or a little chat bubble. Click on that and you can get into chat. But yeah, that's I think Bill's got a good, although I've never really done a seated hunt, I could see there being patterns to it.
There is, unless you've done it long enough, like Dorian and I have, and we know we walk like a crippled chicken on the field, so it never comes out the same. They're trying to figure out what we have for a pattern, and they give up after a moment or two watching it.
Yeah. Another thing I'd like to, comment on, Keith, that, I don't let anybody who buries hunt in that hunt. I'll let them, I use different people to bury because, for example, on one hunt, I found something like 30 silver dimes in one hole. And that was obviously done deliberately by the barrier who hoped to come out and get those dimes during the hunt. I just happened to rain on his parade by finding his little cache first.
Let me comment on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have some long-winded experience of that stuff. We used to have, years when silver was cheaper, we'd have $half and silver dollar hunts.
Right.
Now that's where everybody wants to really kick into gear, because that makes money quick, is over a silver dime, you know. And I actually had two people, and I won't say anything, but they're a husband and wife, and they had this thing double team figured out, and they would help plant. Now, my rule is we divide the field at least in quarters, if not more. Anybody that plants that quarter cannot start at that quarter. They have to start in another part of the field, preferably on the other end. Okay? That way, these people that's working that quarter that they were planting in's already all over it, so planting hordes of coins somewhere, or caches, won't help them at all. And so here's what happened. This couple planted, and I was noticing they were only bending down very little for all the pocket full of coins that they had to bury in this $half and dollar hunt. And what she was doing, she was stacking dollars on top of each other, like 6 at a time. And he was stacking 8 $half on top of each other at a time. Well, now this ruins your hunt, because less people are going to find coins, because these are trying to get a handful of coins at one time. So, of course, when they're lined up on the outside, they are supposed to, as the rules go on planting, start another quarter on the back side of the field. Well, when I drove around, and I always drive around and look at everybody's badge, make sure that they got the right color to be in that hunt, to put on several different hunts that weekend or that day, and each one has a different color, and if I can't recognize that color, I drive around on my side-by-side and look at everybody's badge. Okay, I run across both of them, and they were about 6 people apart, but I said, y'all two planted this quarter, you have to start on the other end. Out of her mouth, her educated response was, and she made an example to have everybody in the crowd out there hear that. And so I could see I wasn't getting anywhere quick on this deal, so I went ahead, drove all the way around the outside perimeter, checked everybody's badge, and drove up in the center of the field. And I announced that everybody raise their detectors up in the air, and it's a shotgun start. Shotgun start means they come off the line and start anywhere they want to start in the middle of the field. Just walk out there. If they want to stay on the line, they can, but everybody can scatter all around. You kind of got like your own little piece of property out there. Well, that just blew a hole in them getting all those coins stacked on top of each other, because people now standing on top of them. You know, that didn't help us any as far as somebody getting too many coins in one hole. That's already planted. There's nothing we can do about that at this point, but it pulls the rug right out from under them that had planned to, mess the or against other people just so they could get hands full at a time. Bid down 3 times and they got 25 coins. There's something wrong, So when this was over, I just walked up to them. I looked them in the eye. They were standing there. They looked like they were totally frustrated. And I said, everybody knows what you did. I don't guess I'll see y'all back. And I just walked off. And they didn't even come back to the club meeting after that. They're so embarrassed. Whether everybody knew what they did or not, I knew who it was that did it, because we actually was 3 of us, my father and another guy, and we were looking through the side window of my truck, out the front window of my truck, and watching them plant. And we had a suspicion the year before. This year we were actually watching them do it. And, of course, after they stick it in the ground, you'd be out there delaying the hunt, trying to dig it back up and spread it out and all that kind of mess. So we just let the hunt be on. But when they decided that they wasn't going to follow the rules as far as planters go and start at the other end of the hunt, I yelled shotgun start, and that meant anywhere in the field.
That's we all have those stories, Keith. I I ran a hunt in East Texas, and I had a couple there and their daughter and son-in-law, and they were among the most loved and respected people in the whole treasure hunting community in Texas. And another fella who's kind of a shady character that came just to observe. He wasn't actually hunting, and I'd known him, and we were on a cordial basis, but he wasn't the kind of guy I wanted to be my best friend or anything, But he told me, he said, that so and so and so and so, they're cheating is how they win the competition hunts. I said, oh really? He says, yeah, here's how they do it. He says, watch them. He says about 3/4 of the way through the time of the hunt, you'll see one of them line up behind the other, and the one in front will bury all. They've already decided before the hunt who's going to be the winner, and the one in front will bury all of their painted pennies in one hole, and then the person behind them will come and dig them up, and that's how they're winning these hunts. So I thought, oh wow, if I make a scene with these people, because they're so well liked and so well respected, I'm going to have a riot on my hands. So I gave it some thought, and what I did was I assigned a hunt marshal to the wife and the son-in-law and daughter, and one to each of them, and I took the husband. And I told them, I said, after the first 10 minutes of the hunt, I want you to go up to them as they're kneeling down digging a target and whisper in their ear, we're watching you very closely. And so that's what we did. And I remember when I leaned down and whispered in the husband's ear, and I said, we're watching you very closely. His head jerked up to me, and he flushed bright red instantly. And I thought, gotcha. And guess what? They not the four of them split up, and not a one of them even placed in the competition. So I was able to diffuse the situation. But, we're kind of getting astray here. I want to get back to something, Keith, in regards to people who might want to get involved in seeded hunts. I want to offer a little tip, and then we'll come back to you, and you can throw in anything that's come to mind. One of the things that will help you if you'd like to get involved in seeded hunts is pick an area, and seeded hunts can be, sometimes they're lawn, nicely mowed lawn areas, sometimes they're rough pasture, sometimes they're really rough pasture. I got in one up in Washington State, a giant field. It had sagebrush, it had weeds that were almost waist high. Boy, that was a challenge. But anyway, generally speaking, you're going to get everything from a bush hog mowed field to a mowed lawn type area, where it's pretty easy to swing and hunt. But one of the things that I think is really important that can help you before you ever get in a hunt is if you will take an area somewhere where you live there that's relatively free of other metal signals, and just run a string and 4 stakes, stake you off an area about 50 feet square, and go out there and bury 50 pennies, a roll of pennies. You might want to, if there's no other signals, it's not a problem. If there's a chance of finding other coins, maybe you want to paint one side of the pennies with spray paint or something. But anyway, go out there and bury these just like we've been talking about an inch deep. Use a knife blade, a hunting knife or something like that to make your holes. And then, time yourself. Start your look at your watch. Start yourself hunting at the second hand, and see how long it takes you to recover those pennies. And quite frankly, every time that you do this, you should get a little faster. And if you'll practice that, 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 times, you'll be a lot more prepared to get into your first prize hunt, and you'll do better than you would have because you're starting to get comfortable with digging these shallow targets that are buried in knife slits. Okay, Keith.
Yeah, you remind me of me teaching my youngest daughter, Deanna. You remember her?
Oh, yeah.
taught her by giving her allowance to her in change, and every time I gave it to her, I opened the front door and threw it out in the grass.
Oh.
Before I mowed. Oh, I remember those days when she used to cry a lot. I gave her a metal detector. I said, good luck. And she'd go out there and she $2 allowance, and she'd end up finding 56 cents, or something like that. Come back in whining because her allowance was so pitiful. Finally, after the stuff started building up out there, she started coming in with, instead of $2, with $6 and $7 worth of change. And see, you start to see her improvement as she's doing this. She's covering her ground better. She's methodically hunting and trying to clean the area so she knows she doesn't have to go back to and stuff. And so when she gets in these competition hunts, I used to take her to the Tulsa hunt all the time. And I used to have like Mary Van Fossen and stuff come up there and tell me, your daughter hunts so methodical out there. I mean, and she was, guys that were teenagers twice her age, she was cleaning their plow. Tokens, she got VCRs and TVs, and she won gold coins and checks for so many dollars and stuff like that. It was just unreal. And metal detectors she'd win and stuff. And these guys that were twice her age and out there just running themselves to death, she just stayed over in that one back corner and just methodically stepped over 2 steps and started swinging in another line right parallel what she had been doing, and she'd just eat them up. And they just could never figure out what they were doing. And I noticed about 4 years into it, you see all these guys that she had been waxing over the years, they're starting to methodically hunt too. So it's all in the way the person wants to do it, but she didn't leave anything behind her, I'll tell you.
Oh, that's great story.
Talking about your daughter, we've been getting quite a few women on the Monday night show, and we've got quite a few women in chat tonight, which makes me really happy. I'm sure you guys have seen it more than I have, but I feel like a lot of women are not treated fairly in this hobby. And for me, that's a really sad thing, and I hate to see it. I know women who get flirted with all the time, or I've heard things like women don't belong in this hobby and different things, and that's very disappointing. I know that's off the subject and everything, but having a daughter that metal detected when she was younger, what do you think about that, Keith?
Well, I started that girl. She would go with me. She wouldn't allow me to go to a hunt without her. And so I started her out in hay hunts. Before she ever had a metal detector, the hunt would have enough children out there. They just bust open a couple of bales of hay, throw loose change in there. Everybody donated and let the kids rip in and get it, and she'd come out of there. I'd have to hold some of her change. She didn't have enough hands to hold it all. And finally, I got her a little detector, and I started emphasizing that too. It's a good pastime for father and daughter or son to do that together, and they get excited and they win something every once in a while. Even if they don't, you teach them good sportsmanship by teaching them how not to let that down on you. And next time it may be your turn, see? And so all that can be well learned and significant to them, especially a planned hunt, or they see some guy going around them real fast and just digging tokens here and there. It's it all helps them a great deal when they finally do get into it. But I think that the girls are thought of, especially younger ones, are maybe thought of that way in some respects, that they're no competition to mount to anything. And but I've known too many now that they're the worst kind of competition that you ever see. I've seen a little old lady whip me so many times on the field, it was terrible. And I was just I would try to move to the other end of the field so the people wouldn't recognize us together. But I had, as a matter of fact, that brings me up to one. I put on a treasure show. I used to put on big treasure shows here in Texas, and I was a state president of all the clubs in the state. And I put on this treasure show as an annual thing that we did for years and years. And it was in a convention center, and we had a adjacent field to have a hunt in on Sunday mornings and give away prizes and stuff that people want to come to a hunt. Well, anyway, make a long story short, I had some little old lady come up to me right 15 minutes before I started the hunt and just told me, he said, I've never done this before, and I paid my entry fee, but I don't own a detector, and I need some tips. And I said, well, let me get you a detector out. It's a simple, like Dorian said, very simple type detector, easy to turn on and just swing. And if it beeps, dig it up, And so we had it out in this field, and I buried 10,000 silver dimes out there, and the tokens that went with it for prizes. And every manufacturer gave the top 2 best detectors that they manufactured for prizes to that particular hunt. And plus I had some gold coins in it and stuff like that, $10 gold pieces and stuff. So anyway, this lady goes out there and she hunts and hunts and hunts. And a little before quitting time, she comes back. She says, I didn't do too well. I said, you didn't? You're always trying to keep them up. No, I didn't do too well. I just found these 4 silver dimes and these 8 tokens. I said, ma'am, there's not a person on that field out there that wouldn't want to know exactly how you did that. Because they're taking dime after dime after dime, and some of them have never even seen a token yet. And you come back with 8 tokens and 4 silver dimes. I'm telling you, I buried 10,000 silver dimes out there. That's got the majority of targets, And she won 2 different manufacturers' very top machines. She didn't even know how to turn on the one I gave her that was simple. And she won a $10 gold piece and I think 2 other detectors beside that. And the guys were just helping her carry it to her car. I don't know what she's going to do with them. But anyway, for a beginner that didn't know what she was doing, and I didn't even show her how to hit the pinpoint button. I just showing her how, if it goes off, I threw a quarter in the grass and showed her how to go off and just look for it and dig around. It's just under the soil. And sure enough, she'd find it. So, and that's the thing about it. Sometimes the new guy or new gal is the ones that have all the luck sometimes. Because I know a bunch of people would come in that one and they didn't do any good at all. But that little old lady, she just cleaned up. So it was a nice thing to see, really.
That is great. That is awesome.
Matter of fact, there's a book out on competition hunting, planted competition hunting, that Jack Lowry wrote when he was working for Garrett, and that picture of that hunt field is on the cover of it, and the people standing in it, some of them you'd recognize, Dorian, as old-timers, but anyway, that's what he did the cover of his book with, was that particular hunt where she won all that. So.
While we're on the subject of competition hunting, I got something I'd like to contribute here on that. I'd like to tell, for those who might be of that type of a mindset, and they're thinking, I'd really like to get involved in that competition hunting, see how good I can get at it. I had been in a number of competition hunts and never placed. Usually there were the ones I was in, they would have trophies or prizes to 3 places, and I never placed. So I decided I had to do something about that. So what I did was I quit entering the competition hunt, but I volunteered as a hunt marshal for every hunt that I went to where the national champion, Jesse Blackshire, was in that hunt. And as a hunt marshal, I was stationed out on the field to watch for signs of people not filling their holes or any kind of cheating, that type of thing. Well, I just attached myself to Jesse Blackshire, and I followed him around the field like a puppy dog, and I watched him dig every target. I studied his technique. He had this technique when he put his digging tool in the slit where the coin was. It was like a vibrating type of thing, and the coin would back itself out of the hole and travel right up his shovel. And he would flip it up in the air with his shovel, grab it in the air, and drop it in his pouch. And he was already swinging the detector while he was doing that with the other hand. And I marveled, as I watched him do this. And then I understood why he was consistently a winner. So I started imitating him. And the first time that I imitated his technique, I won a third place. The second time I got in a hunt and used his technique, I won a second place. The third time, I got my first place in a competition hunt. Now, let me explain. I didn't enter hunts that Jesse was in, okay? Because I wasn't going to beat him. But imitating his technique was good enough for me to beat the competition. And I won 3 first places in a row before I kind of retired from competition hunting. So my point is, study success and imitate it. And you'll get to your goal in competition hunting of winning first place a lot faster than if you just go out there and say, I'm just going to keep doing it until I win.
Yeah. Well, I kind of get into it just for the fun of it. So you make friends with these people. You go to too many of them, and they're all covering these different hunts like this. And I like seeing my friends again and camaraderie that we have out there before and on the field too. But it's a lot of fun, and I like to just see how luck takes me sometimes and just take something different and go in a different angle or something that I usually do. I'm left-handed, so I always very seldom go right. I go left, and so I turn around and go right for a change or something, And it just it's just, change my technique up a little bit and see if it helps any or not. And if it doesn't, well, I had a good time anyway.
Okay. Well, let's comment or let's talk about the really big hunts, because somebody brought up the fact that there's going to be a really big hunt up in the Northeast this fall, and they're going to have, they say, they're going to limit, quote unquote, the entries to 1,500 people. And having seen, we had 1,200 people in '79. When we did the big one in near Gatlinburg in '94, we had 800 people. And I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, when it comes to big hunts. And I wanted to mention the fact that if you're going to one of these big hunts and you've never been to one where you've got that many people, there's things that you need to be prepared. You need to be really self-sufficient in terms of, your lodging, whether you're camping, your food, cold water, all of this stuff, because it's very hard for the planners of these big hunts, because a lot of people, including spectators, family members, here's one hunter and he brings 6 people with him that aren't hunting. Well, those people are going to be making use of the concession stands for food. They're going to be using the porta potties on the site. And almost always when you get these big crowds, you end up with a situation in the porta potties that is less than pleasant. You can also end up standing in lines, long lines at the concession, the food trucks, whatever they call them, things like that. You can have trouble in the area of parking. depending on how well organized their parking is and how much space they have to park people. So all of these things can be problems. You're going to be working in a big crowd. So, you might want to think about that. And I certainly wouldn't recommend those great big hunts for beginners. I think if you can get into club hunts where the club has been around, they've been having this hunt, if you see on the flyer, the 34th annual, such and such treasure hunt, that's a good indication that they've got their act together, and they know what works and what doesn't. If they have a couple of hundred people in the hunt, that would be probably just about right. I like to go to hunts with 100 to 200 people max, personally. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you about the big hunts. Oh, we got Dan.
That's all right. I'll jump in here.
Okay.
There's a hunt that I used to put on. Everybody just really loved. But there's a couple of different rules in it. And this one's nothing but planted pennies. It's called Play 21. And what some of the pennies are marked 1, some of them are marked 2, 3, and 4. You had to come in, and there's a card table put up in the middle of the field, and these pennies are planted all over the field. Rules are you can't talk to anybody. You can't stop next to each other in the hunt whatsoever. There's no handing off pennies, basically, in other words, to make your 21. You have to come up with 21. I have 200 silver dollars, and I'll give away 200 21s that get there the first. I had several people around the card table that help counts the points of everybody, and they get their silver dollar and go back to hunting for another 21. Well, this is what you really call a competition, because everybody's trying to get as many coins as they can, as fast as they can, and try to put together 21 to come up there, and they'll have 20. And they got to go back and find a 1, and they'll dig 4s and stuff like that, and they'll try to readjust their handful so they have 21. And so they're trying to get one of those silver dollars, and then after 1, they want to get 2, and then after that, 3, and so on. So it becomes a real fashionable laughter fun. But I had to have field marshals out there because they had to keep people apart, because the husband and wives will trade off so they can get another 21 and run up there and stuff like that. So anything's possible. And when you're, let me tell you, people, that when you're having a hunt like this, and the hunt, sponsor is, there's no way that he knows every person in the crowd. And you don't know what they came from or what they thought in their mind they could get away with at a hunt. It's not always cheating. Let me put it that way. After I built my reputation on putting these things on, nobody would dare come in my place and try to cheat. But it does it anyway. Every once in a while you get somebody from out of state or whatever, it comes out there and they'll try. But you just let them know that you're watching them, and that goes away pretty quick. So, but anyhow, the fun of it is to have fun out there, and hopefully you get lucky and win. And the faster you are, the more accurate you are. But to start out, don't try to be fast. Slow down. Try to cover your ground good. Try to come out with something so you can enjoy the hunt after all. Because you start looking at, after a while, you start looking at how much you spent to get in this hunt and say, well, I don't know what made me think I could do any good in this thing, but it's an activity. It's an activity for people to enjoy and get together and have good communication with one another. So just keep that in mind when you get into one, if you do. And like Dorian said, I wouldn't get in the great big ones. I would stick around in probably my local area for a while and hunt some of the smaller ones and get into a little bit bigger ones as I get a little bit better, and then try to perfect your technique out there, retrieving something an inch or two under the ground, locating it and retrieving it, and getting back up. I've even wore a plastic bucket on my down there opposite my swinging arm and have it strapped above and below my calf, and it's got holes in it for the dirt to fall out, and I'll dig the coin and throw it right in that bucket. And as I walked, I jingled, as I found more and more coins. But it eliminated me having to hit my pouch with a coin. See, it was right there on my leg, a bucket. And so there got to be several of us doing that as well. But there's different things that you can do to kind of trim up some of your speed and what have you and make it a little bit faster. But the more times you get up and swing, that's the more targets that you get. So if you stay a long time digging a hole, that might hurt you instead of help.
I'm sorry, was I making a lot of noise there?
No, go ahead.
There he is. Okay.
So you put a bucket. That is funny. I like that idea though. Bucket with holes drilled and strapped to your leg. How cool is that? What's a question I have, if it's okay? What's some? Let's say somebody wants to. A lot of the clubs, even the smaller clubs, will do hunts. What's some of the more unique ways to come up with fun ways, different ways to do hunts, to do seated hunts? You know what I mean? And what I'm getting at, like, I just had his name. Oh my goodness, how did I lose his name? Anyhow, I've heard of some really interesting different ways to do a hunt. You know what I mean? Or to put it on, or do you guys have any suggestions? Or Wayne Peterson. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I got caught up on that. Wayne Peterson, I know the door hunt and the different things he's done. Can you guys talk about that a little bit?
I'm not familiar with what he's used. I can tell you about some of the unusual things that I've done. If that's what you want.
Yeah.
Well, one of the most interesting hunts, and I think basically the crowd loved it. We took mason jars with zinc lids, and we filled them full of wheat pennies up to about a few inches from the top. And then we put some silver, barber dimes, and various good coins, real keepers. We finished filling up the jar with those on top. And then right on the very top, we took a 1700 Spanish pillar dollar and put that as the first visible coin when you remove the top of the jar. And we were able to do 17 of these jars, and we buried them in a field. And I did it at night to thwart the people that were trying to watch us bury and, hoping to get an unfair advantage. There's always people in the crowd that want to do that. And what I did was I dug the hole down 12 so that the top of the jar would be 12 inches deep. And then I dug a tunnel back to one side of the hole, another 8 or 10 inches, and then put the jar back in the tunnel and then carefully filled the hole and put the sod plug back in, and carefully camouflaged it so that where the signal would pinpoint, it had never been dug. They would have to dig through, 12 inches of undug soil to get to the top of the jar. And I did that to slow down the speed hunters because we had a lot of new people. We had a lot of people in the hunt that had never been in a prize hunt before or a seated hunt. And I was hoping that at least some of those would find some of these jars rather than just the speed hunters get all 17 of these jars of coins. Well, as it turned out, we only had 3 speed hunters that found a jar, and we had 14 basically newbies and beginners that found the rest of the jars. So we actually had 14 new people. And see, here was the thing, too. When you dug the jar, you had to take it off the field. It was too heavy to carry around and hunt. So you had to take it over to the judge's table and, and record it as your find. And then you could go back out and hunt for another jar. Nobody found 2 jars, so I thought it was a real neat experience and gave everybody a look at what a real cache might be like, on an old home site, because mason jars were common repositories for coins.
Very cool. Very cool. What do you guys think about shifting gears here a little bit? I want to run something by you. We've got Jeff and Katie in chat tonight, and they are really new to the hobby. They both have really good detectors. I gather they haven't found anything good yet, but they're going to. Between the 3 of us, of course, you guys your numbers are way up higher than me. And I know we've been talking about, tips for newbies. What if we go into some more of that and maybe get into some of their specific stuff? What do you guys think?
Yeah, sure.
Keith, you want to take that?
You there, Keith?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I mean, if I have people that start a lot of times and they're just they're not into it, they never have done it before, and they ask me what's the best thing to do, and I said, well, to be honest with you, don't hunt your yard. Because if you hunt it this year, be sure to go back next year and hunt it again, because you'll see just how much you missed the first time you hunted it. I tell them, you see those playgrounds, swing sets, and the gravel and stuff like that. Kids lose coins, and sometimes even jewelry's lost, or somebody pushing, mama's pushing the kid's swing, and her wedding ring comes off and falls in that gravel. It's hard to see. And so just take your new detector and go to one of those gravel-covered playground areas and just ease along there, and it's easy to dig. You're not messing up anything, moving some gravel, and find your regular coins for a while, just pocket change.
I agree. I agree. That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, well, see, they haven't learned their technique in digging either, and so just finding that kind of loose change and stuff like that helps them, and it's not so frequently that you find pull tabs and screw caps and all that stuff in that thing, but when they're leaning back on those swings, there's change, heavy quarters, and stuff like that will fall out. So just look in that area to start with, and because I had 2 ladies that bought detectors from me one time, and they were brand new to it, and they liked to do things together, and they had come up to me. I actually worked with them at the time, and they come up to me one day, and about 2 weeks after I sold them detectors, and said that they were going to hunt a historical place. One of them's sister was living on in a mobile home now. Used to be a historical big 2-story house there. And they wanted to know if I thought they were ready to do so. And I said, no, you're not. You haven't learned your machine yet. You're going to miss more than you find. And so it went on for another week, and then they come back and said, well, we got another week of hunting, do you think? And I said, well, no. But yeah, I said, I'll tell you what to do, because I know you're going to ask me this every week. Take me with you. And when y'all go out and hunt, I want y'all to hunt. And then one of you loan me your detector, and y'all take a 30-minute break and let me hunt for a while and show you what you missed. Oh, Lord, that was a big deal. It started actually raining, and they came in and sat at the picnic table underneath the awning there, and the girl's sister was watching them. And, they had a few coins, and some, one of them had a little toy soldier. The other one had 2 play cars and stuff like that. The kids had been losing out in the yard, but nothing old or historical. I came back in with 11 in 30 minutes. They hunted about 45. I come in with 11 silver coins. I come in with, I don't know how many wheat pennies and other clag coins. Probably had about $4 in change. And I think the highest that they had was 35 cents in change. And I dug 2 rings and a necklace, and in the exact same place both of them hunted. Plus I had some toy cars and stuff like that in 30 minutes. And
That's great.
They just couldn't believe it. But by showing them by example what they had actually missed, it was just awe to them that they had actually missed that stuff. How can you miss that? You know, I said it can be done if you just don't have yet your hunting technique that you need, and don't you're basically just loosey goosey hunting around and picking up a target and just digging a hole and seeing if you retrieve it. And a lot of times they lose the target in the hole. That's another thing that beginners need to learn. They learn about how a coin sinks, how a coin creates a halo. Any piece of metal creates a halo in the ground. What I mean by halo is like if you've dug a nail in the dirt before and you see all this rust color around it, that's a halo. In other words, the soil acids have been eaten at that piece of metal and leaching particles of metal into the ground around it. And as long as that nail is in contact with them, it makes that nail sound more like plugging an electric guitar into an amplifier. You can play an electric guitar without an amplifier, and it's not very loud. If you plug it in that amplifier, that enhances it a great deal, and that's the same thing that happens to your detector. But a halo plus the object can make it sound strong. Now, if you remove that item from the halo, you're digging and you accidentally hit it, and it removes from that halo, then suddenly you can't hear the item anymore if it fell deeper in the hole. It's disappeared. You say, well, it just went away. No, it didn't go away. You had a good solid hit both directions. The object's still in there, but you disconnected it from that halo. So anytime that happens, you've moved the object, and I recommend that you take your hands, reach in the hole, and grab all the loose dirt and pull it out, rake it out, and it'll be right there on top after you do that. But you can accidentally turn it up sideways in a hole too, and it'll just barely hit then because you're just hitting the edge of the coin too. So there's a lot of things. I had a $5 gold piece do that to me.
Oh,
it disappeared
wow.
on me. I knocked it out of a halo, and if I wouldn't have took that last handful of dirt or two and raked it out on top of the deal, I would have never seen the $5 gold piece right there.
Wow.
1885 $5 gold piece. But it was right up next to a pine tree about as big around as your thigh, and there again, it's kind of a thing that I do every time I get next to a tree. The signal coming off the bottom of your coil comes off in a cone shape, strongest point being in the center, comes off in a cone shape. So if you're going perpendicular to the tree, then the signal's going away from the tree. When that 1885 $5 gold piece was lost in there, I doubt very seriously that tree even existed. And so when you got up to the tree, you were going away from the tree. So I take my coil, as I swing it towards the tree, I cock it at a 45 going into the tree. So the bottom of the coil is cocked to where I can see the root base under the tree. The roots a lot of times will bring objects like that to the top as they grow. And so that's how I ended up finding that. If I wouldn't have tilted my coil into it, I would have never heard it. There's a lot of little techniques that
Yeah.
You know what I like to do with newbies too is as a dealer, and you got the background I have. I like to plug in a set of Y jacks on their headphones, and they're listening to their headset, and I'm listening to my headset, walking alongside them. And I tell them why they should or should not listen to that signal they just heard. What the signal's doing when they sweep over it, what the meter may be doing, what it indicates. If it's just all up and down the span of the signal of the meter, and it's 85 1 minute and 12 the next and back and forth, then it's usually either at best a piece of wadded aluminum can hit by a lawnmower that's got different flat sides at different angles on it, or it's a rusty piece of iron, and one end's rusted more than the other end, so you never get the same reading twice, basically. It's all over the
guys, we're getting way off subject here.
Okay.
Wonder if we could come back. These are all good points. I'm not criticizing, but I'm just saying, this is our chance to talk about the hunts, the seed hunts and stuff. And I'd like to kind of try to continue on that theme. I thought we're bringing out an awful lot of good stuff.
Okay.
One thing too, you have to consider. People will look at an entry fee. Okay, this hunt costs $250 or $150 or whatever. Actually, it's going to cost you more than that. You got to figure in your food, your travel, gas, wear and tear on your car. All of that is part of the expense of the trip. So be sure that you don't get distracted by the prizes or the this hunt's going to be on unworked battlefields or whatever like that. The only way you can know if a battlefield's unworked is to cover the whole battlefield, cover the ground. You can test one little corner of it or something, and maybe you don't see any dig holes from somebody else, but that doesn't mean it's not been worked. So my point is, it's very hard for anybody to promise you that you'll get to hunt a good site. The hunts now, a lot of them will combine a seeded hunt and a natural hunt. I think they're starting to call them where, you're actually hunting a historic site of some kind. But like I said, I think that you don't want to get your expectations up high thinking you're going to find something like a Confederate belt buckle or something valuable enough to cover all your expenses for the trip. You ought to think of it like a vacation. You don't recover your vacation expenses, unless you're doing something like gold ring hunting on the Florida beaches or something and your stuff. Maybe yes. So when you do the hunts, the organized hunts, just tally up how much it's actually going to cost you, and make sure you don't blow your budget because you forgot to consider some of the, incidental expenses outside the actual cost of getting into the event. Keith, I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. In your opinion, and this will help because there may be some people listening that might be planning hunts. They may be the future hunt organizers in the years to come or in the near future. What do you think is a good percentage of entry fee money as far as putting it back in the ground in the form of coins and prize tokens? What percentage of the total entry fee do you think would be good for somebody organizing a hunt?
I put 100% of all entry fees into my hunts. As a matter of fact, if anything, they come out better. They're going to come out better just from what the manufacturers may donate or whoever it may be donating to the hunt to begin with. I mean, I've seen where you could win a four-wheeler at a hunt, which creates a little bit of a problem because who knows if you brought a trailer to haul it home with. So I always, if they're going to do that, I bring my trailer and say, I'll haul it to my house for you. But anyway, they donate a lot of things, and so that even makes the hunt even better. When I started with the Watts hunt years ago, I had no entry fees. It was all free, but you had to bring something to donate as a prize. And so I would get donations from different people. Some would bring one item, some would bring 10 items, and we'd donate. And that's, the tokens I would bury for that number of actual items I had out there and list them. Anyway, so it's, it's kind of a toss-up deal of what you want to do, but I take, and I found mine to be better at, I'd say about 60% coins in the ground, hidden, targets, and the other 40% in prizes. Now, if I have a manufacturer give me more than the normal donations, well, I might make that 70% in the ground and 30% in prizes. Because some of those prizes will be donation, and it didn't cost you anything. But other prizes, we buy hunt packages from manufacturers and a number of things. I mean, you can go to Walmart and get some ice coolers. Everybody likes ice coolers. They like several things that you can pick up that they can take home as a prize, It doesn't have to necessarily pertain to the hobby.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's think now in terms of our beginners, our new people. Something I wanted to bring up for those of you that have not attended these hunts. One of the real benefits is meeting treasure hunters from all over. I mean, on the good hunts, they'll draw treasure hunters, from 700-800 miles away. So you get to meet a lot of different people, and a lot of times you can make connections and get invitations. Here you are, you might be in Ohio, and you get an invitation to come out to Arizona, and hunt gold nuggets on somebody's claim. That might be something you want to take advantage of at some point in the future, see? So there is a value. Part of what you get for your entry fee is you get access to all of these treasure hunters. So if you go, don't be bashful if you're new. Talk to people, introduce yourself, have some simple business cards with your name and address and email that you can pass out. Because like I said, if you don't make some contacts, you're really not trying. It's just a wonderful place. And the fellowship, if they have a campfire, sitting around the campfires at night, or just, I like to go in the campgrounds, Keith, and you'd probably agree with me because you kind of go from, campsite to campsite, and talk to people, meet them, introduce yourself. And a lot of times, they'll invite you in, would you like some supper? Would you like a cold drink? A lot of that goes on. Treasure hunters are friendly people, and they're usually at their friendliest for the most part at these hunts. So, that should be considered in the value of what you get, even if you don't come out of the first hunt or two or three with a lot of silver coins or, metal detectors for prizes. Things sometimes just go in unexpected directions. In this one hunt where I found 7 prize tokens. And so we had to stand in line to find out what the numbers meant, what prizes we'd won. And I'd done real good on silver dimes. I had about 30 silver dimes and 7 prize tokens. And I was feeling pretty good about that. And we got in line, and here was a fella that was his very first hunt, and he'd managed to find 3 prize tokens. And I thought, and I told him, I said, well, you did real good for a first hunt, you might have gotten something good. Well, we got up there, and he won 2 metal detectors and a $10 gold piece for his 3 tokens. My 7 tokens got me 6 small Garrett books and a Garrett point apron, and I was the Garrett rep. I had all of those. So how can you?
I won't tell you how many times I've done that.
Really? Have you done that too, Keith?
Yeah, I'm afraid so, yes.
Oh,
it doesn't always hit in your corner every time you go, but you hit on something there that I like to make another point about.
Go ahead.
You know, when I go to those hunts, I know there's people I've never known, never seen before in those hunts. I'm going to one in October that's the Lone Star Hunt in Irving, Texas, and it's really a good hunt and very friendly people. And but it's made with several clubs around there, but they always have new people. I think I met somebody last year from Vermont. That's quite a ways away.
Wow.
But anyway, I like to go up and just say hello, introduce myself, not because I'm maybe a dealer out there set up, but just to meet new people. You never know when that might tie into a good hunt trip if you go their direction someday or something of that nature. You know, I'm hunting this, pre-Civil War site out there, and we're digging some really valuable buttons out there. I don't know what they are, but I'm enjoying digging them. Well, I'll help you.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be glad to go and help you with that. And to get you to come out, they're liable to say, well, come on, if you're going that way, vacation or something, stop by and we'll go do that. You know, so it helps you make contacts with other people, and you always, I don't care how long you've been doing it. Dorian and I have been doing it a long time. You always learn something. Every time, the more contacts you make, the more you learn. And so it's not necessarily that you give up on the old guy, because he'll sit there around the campfire at night. That's what I love the most, is the talk around the campfire. And he'll sit there at night, and you've known him for 20 years, and you know all his stories and stuff. But he'll say, hey, I learned something new the other day. My ears go up. I want to hear what this new thing is he learned. Maybe I know it. Maybe I don't. But I want to learn. See, so you don't quit learning.
That's an excellent point, Keith, and that's what keeps us old geezers young, actually, at heart. Anyway, because you never feel like you maxed out. The guys on my on our group page, our Civil War group page, they just keep teaching me stuff. Almost every single day, I learn something new from both the old guys like me, and also the young guys. There's just some of the young guys are good researchers. We got one fella, he has the ability to get to the heart and core of an issue and then post it, in a concise way that you understand exactly what he's talking about. And it's impressive to me. That guy could be a really, really good journalist if he wanted to, so you just keep learning. And so the hunts provide a gathering of people that have been learning new things throughout the previous year. Maybe you saw them last year, but they've got new things, new stories to share with you in the year that has passed. So I agree with your point 100% there, Keith.
Yeah, it's worth it. To me, that's what I look forward to going to the hunt. It's just the new people I'm going to get to see this time. And, I'm real bad with names. I have a terrible time remembering names. But you'll notice if I walk through a crowd, everybody is, hey, buddy, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah.
If I can't remember the name, it's Buddy, so. But I found my defense, finally. But I don't want to say, well, I'm too old and too stupid to remember names now. But my tech, he tells me all the time, well, no wonder you haven't got a memory. You know where every little tiny part is in this electronic repair place, and you can put your finger right on it. that would run out of anybody's memory right there. Nobody would have a memory left after that. And so, and you get, off time when you're not out there on the hunt field, you get in little groups, and there's, maybe 4 women, and I'm the only guy there. I'm still learning stuff, and I'm learning how women talk about guys.
While they're kicking your butt.
or I've got the billfold, Doris, and my husband's not getting it. He's not entering on all the money that we got in that fundraiser, something like that.
Hey guys, I'm getting ready to jump overboard. You keep on this subject.
Well, I like to make a memorable moment at every hunt I go to. And the last one I went last year at Irving, like I said, at that Lone Star hunt, and they were auctioning after lunch. They're auctioning cakes and pies that the membership made, and there's a prize token under each one, a ticket. And that ticket number's good for winning something, and they've got gold coins in it, they've got metal detectors in it, got a little bit of everything in it. And so I made my memorable moment when they had told the cake auction guy up there that the one thing that Keith Wills loves is German chocolate cake, and especially by Shelley. And Shelley's one of the guys' wives that just makes the best fluffy German chocolate cake in the world. And so I'm sitting there and not paying anything, talking to somebody else around my booth, and they said, "Well, Keith, we got your German chocolate cake coming up next," like that. I'm going, okay, who told? Somebody told on me. And so they're waiting for me to bid on it. And there's 2 or 3 others bidding, and I haven't said a word to them, And the bid gets up to about $70. Yeah, it can get high on these cakes and pies. You'd see what a set of brownies goes for sometimes. These are fundraisers for next year's club hunt. It makes it better, the money that they take in on it. So I just turned around and said $100 like that.
Yeah.
All my buddies are sitting behind me going, "Oh, what a doofus, man." $100. He's going to have a tough time recovering that one, And actually, I didn't win what I wanted to win, of course, but I did win an item that was one of the pinpointers that Mine Lab had just come out with, a brand new pinpointer, and they retailed at $149.95. So I made $50,
Wow.
$100 to buy the cake, and got to go home with the cake, and with diabetes, that was a smart move. I mean, at least I got a pinpointer to take home and sell. So, it wasn't exactly what I had on mine, but it never is, so I enjoy the surprise. But I went to Shiloh, Tennessee one time, and they had a relic hunt there. And the relics, they actually use for tokens. They get a piece of cannonball fragment and take a yellow ink pen and write a number on it, 14 or something, Well, I've been to this hunt several years in prior, and the number stood for whatever you won, whoever has a master list. And I went up there, I dug, say, 14, went up there and looked at $5 gold piece. All right, yes, that's good. So I go around and tell all the guys I'm with, I'm saying, "Hey, man, I want a $5 gold piece. I want a $5 gold piece." Well, guess what? They had a cigar box full of keys with stamped numbers on that, and you get to stand at number 14 position in line and reach in the cigar box and pull out a key. I got a new pair of headphones. So, I mean, it's never what you think.
Yeah.
Just give it up if you think you got them planned. It's never what you think.
Right.
All the guys are going, yeah. You told us that you were going to be grinning all the way to the house, and we had to put up with you. Now let's see who's putting up with who.
Yeah, that's
one of the guys actually won off his number. Won a musician's dress sword, Civil War dress sword. is in excellent shape, and I have no earthly idea what that thing was worth. But he was grinning from the ear to ear all the way back to the house.
Yeah, those are, I'm glad we're sharing some of these memories of things that we experienced, because to those of you that are listening, if you get involved in the seated club hunts, you're going to make memories like these too. You're going to have stories to tell. You're going to have fond memories to recount like we're doing now. And somewhere down the road, you're going to be the one that's on the podcast telling the newbies, about your experiences in the hunts and things. So, we certainly encourage you to get involved in those hunts, but do so, with some wisdom, don't just rush into it, but approach it just like your metal detector, that it's a skill to master. And, if it will be good to you if you're good to it. And the more hunts you do, the better your odds get that you are going to eventually win a very expensive metal detector or something that's going to make you smile all the way home, as Keith was saying.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I always tell people I meet and customers and stuff like that, anytime you have a question, I don't care if you're using that detector in Florida and you want to know where to look in Florida, or what better place on beach that you should be hunting instead of just out on the sand. Call me. I'll be glad to tell you. I know people in Florida would be glad to help you. I want to improve their finds so they get excited about the hobby like you and I have been excited for years, decades in the hobby. And so I enjoy directing if I can, if possible. Not that I know everything, of course not, but I enjoy helping people along where they have a better success at what they're trying to do. Enjoy it even more.
It's true. And, there's a thing about us old geezers, folks. If we're not just, at the end of our lives, we're not just totally mercenary trying to take everybody we can for every buck we can. We usually are just the opposite. We're givers. We're not takers. And we know that, we're not going to be able to take anything we have made or done with us. So, there's a story I was recounting earlier about a young fella who went to his great reward early, and he comes walking across the clouds carrying a little suitcase, and there's St. Peter sitting behind the proverbial desk there at the Golden Gates. And St. Peter says, well, he says, we have a new arrival. He says, son, why'd you bring a suitcase to heaven? He says, we have everything you need here. He says, no, he says, this is special. He says, really? What do you got in there? So the young guy, throws the suitcase up on St. Peter's desk and pops it open, and it's full of very nicely done gold bars. And St. Peter gets a disgusted look on his face and says, paving bricks? You brought paving bricks to heaven? It's one of my favorites. Right. But, Keith, you may go. Yeah. Right. I was thinking, Keith, when you were talking about, the raffles of the cakes and everything and the prize tickets on them and everything. And I thought, you won the pinpointer, and I thought Keith has just proven that age-old adage, the treasure is where you find it.
That's right. It doesn't you can make anything that you find a treasure really in your heart.
Yeah.
I got a sign outside my back door there when somebody comes up, and it says, my wife is the best treasure I've ever found. Like that, in metal detecting, I'd say in my career of doing this, my friends are the best treasures I've ever found.
Absolutely. The friendships, today, Lisa Ann's and I were sharing some memories of our hunts with Jesse Blackshire. Jesse was the one who won the, in 1979 when we ran the big hunt for Garrett.
It was totally something that had never been done. We gave away a brand new Chevy 4-wheel drive pickup truck as a grand prize for in the competition event. And there was 3 rounds, and the 50 high scoring people in the first 2 rounds out of hundreds that entered were the ones who got to hunt for the third round, which was for the truck. Well, Jesse, as I expected, frankly, won the truck. He is I think our all-time greatest competition hunter that's ever been, as far as I know. And I know he's still alive, living in Memphis, but I've lost contact with him. But Jesse was not just a one-dimensional world's greatest competition hunter. I really hunted with him on a number of occasions, and I remember one time we were hunting up near Corinth, Mississippi. We're actually over in Tennessee a little bit, a place called LaGrange. And another fellow and I had gotten into a firing range, and we were digging all kinds of fired Colt revolving rifle bullets, a very unusual Civil War bullet. Time these things were, they were worth about as much as a silver dollar each one to collectors. So I was very proud of myself because we dug about 80, and I ran into Jesse Blackshire. We got separated, and we'd been hunting 2 or 3 hours, and I'd recovered these bullets. So I went over to show him my finds, and I'm thinking, yeah, this is the best finds of the hunt so far. And then here's Jesse. He complimented me, was very nice, and complimented me on my finds. And then I asked him, well, what have you found? And he pulls out 2 Texas Star bridle rosettes. They're, of course, would have been Confederate in origin, lost by some Texas Confederate soldier. They're brass with the lead filled back, and they went on the side of the horse's bridle. And they were worth, at that time, at least $500 for the pair. And that was my point I'm making. Jesse, whatever type of metal detecting he did, he excelled, and he was so nice about it. There wasn't a trace of arrogance in the man, and you couldn't ever get mad at him or hate him because he constantly waxed you when you hunted with him. It was almost like hunting with Keith Wills.
Yeah, right.
But Lee and I were sharing the memories. My point about Jesse, our experiences, Lee hunted with him too. And it was fun. It was adult fun. I had a ball remembering and getting Lee's take on it, and he had details I'd forgotten, and I had details he'd forgotten. And, it was just a great thing to do. And like you said, it really emphasized to me what you said, your friends, the friendships and the experiences that you shared, the things that you had in common, the victories, the defeats, not every hunt was a great hunt. Yeah, I remember digging a state of Louisiana seal coat button at Port Hudson, and I thought, oh, wow, this is a victory. This thing looks beautiful. It's got the gold on it, and right in front of my eyes, it crumbled into about 60 little pieces. Yeah, so for a moment, see, you have those kind of moments, and then you have the ones that you do well. It's the same thing with the hunts, with the prize hunts. If you keep doing them, you get involved in them, you're going to sooner or later have some that make all the others that weren't so great not important. You just kind of forget them because you remember that one hunt where you did fantastic, where you won that $20 gold piece, or you won that Mine Lab Equinox, or whatever, And like I said, like Keith said, you couldn't stop smiling all the way home. Mike, how we doing on time?
Guys, I am ready whenever you are. I'm getting pretty stoved up here, but we can keep going if you guys got more you want to talk about. It's okay. I'm getting there though.
Okay, do we have any questions that need to be answered?
Exactly. If you guys have any questions about organized hunts, anything to do with that, let us know. Give us a shout in the chat and let us know. And then, we've got some new people in here. Don't hesitate to give me a call email me, find me on Facebook. I'll be more than happy. If I can't answer it, I'll reach out to. That's why I surround myself with good people like Dorian and Keith. These guys know a lot more than I do, and I'm not afraid to reach out to them. I'm sure if you reach out to them on Facebook, they would be more than happy to help you. I don't think you'd find two guys more knowledgeable than both of you. You guys just have tons of knowledge. Dorian's taught me all kinds of things right over the phone, and Keith is just a wealth of knowledge as well. So don't be afraid that, I'll tell you guys, don't be afraid. If I don't answer you an email, I didn't get it. I do get that. I recently was looking for an important email I knew I had, and I went into my spam folder, and I found an email from months ago. Reach out to me on Facebook or give me a call. I still like phone calls. I don't have a problem giving my number out. It's 937-414-4578. Give me a call. I'll talk metal detecting with you. Jeff's in chat tonight. He called me a few weeks ago, and he's more than welcome to call back anytime. Katie, same thing. If you want to call him without him knowing and we get you hunting a lot better than him, I'm all for it. No, I'm only kidding. Oh, don't get me in trouble. Yeah, how funny would that be? Turn her into an expert, and then she can teach Jeff. How funny would that be? Yeah, exactly. But they're really nice people, and I'm glad they reached out to me. And I love talking to people, especially new in the hobby. So I'm not really seeing any questions. But if you got any questions, let's get them in, and we'll get the show wrapped up. And of course, if you want to ask something off air, or something, please feel free to call me, message me, email me. Katie said she'll be talking to me on her lunch break tomorrow. You call me. We'll keep it a secret from Jeff until you're an expert, and then we'll tell him, haha, Mike's been helping me. Yeah, exactly.
Same thing goes for me now. I can answer technical questions or problems with your detector, or just what you want to know about hunting something.
Yeah, and
just give me a holler. I'm sure Dorian can do the same. My website is brokendetector.com. So it's got my phone number, my email, all that on there. And I'm on Facebook as well.
Keith is the only guy in the United States who works on all the major brands except MineLab. He can't get parts for those from MineLab. Everything else he works on them. I have yet to have anything worked on. I think I'm going to have you tune one of my detectors. Just it's probably way due. Have you look at a coil and stuff. Like I said, I want to come over here in a couple weeks and come visit you. But if you guys have a detector, that's broke or something, Keith is your guy. You want to get it to Keith, especially if it's something you want to keep. A lot of people think, oh, my older detector, it was great, but it broke. Send it to Keith. Keith will fix it. I've never heard anything but good things about Keith and his work and prices and everything. So Kimmy, I don't know if he would ship in the UK. Kimmy's over in the UK asking about discount. Listen to her asking about a discount. I don't even know if she's a hoot. You'd love her. She's just funny. But yeah, if you have any, go ahead.
We do repairs from all over, but usually overseas like that, if they know somebody in the States that'll ship it to them, we'd rather go through that person or whatever to go through it, because we're so busy, it's seldom we have time to do all the paperwork that's got necessary to ship it overseas. So it's easier if you can do it that way, but if it's a special case, well, I'll make exceptions, along the way. But they got some repair centers overseas, but I don't know who they are anymore. They seem to rotate around quite a bit, so I don't know whether they just go out of business after a while or what. But I planned this after my treasure hunting of retirement to have this business where I could help people keep their old favorite detector going. And it's been where the manufacturers now won't even mess with them. They say send them to Keith. And so I've got parts they haven't got. Never bought one of anything. I bought a dozen of them, so I make sure I have them the next time I come.
And
I have accessories and stuff too. So
he's been doing it since '82. Keith's not new at this or anything here. He's he's been at it a long time, and he's got a heck of a name behind it. Like I said, I've never heard anything but good. And I think there's a lot of people out there that haven't heard of you, Keith, and we need to keep getting that out there. And I do that quite a bit. I tell people all the time about you and stuff. So,
I appreciate that,
guys. We don't.
Glad to help somebody out.
Usually, you can find a picture of Keith on the post office bulletin board.
Right. You need another picture to put on your dartboard. Pictures of Dorian.
Right. Oh, you guys are funny. Doesn't look like we got any questions. I think we can wrap it up, and I can get this leg propped up and stuff. I do want to say to Jeff out there, thanks for being a good sport, giving him a hard time, Barb. Jeff, if you really love Katie, next week she's going to be telling us about her new pinpointer and her Predator Tools hand digger and her Predator Tools shovel. You probably want to get her a Piranha. And if you really love her, that's all I'm saying. She'll be reporting back to us about these great new shovels and pinpointer.
He's going to get where he doesn't want to talk to you.
Yeah, probably. He's like, Mike, why'd I ever...
Mike, can you spell extortion?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Jeff just said, you're killing me. Oh, you're killing me. Guys, thank you all for tuning in, and really appreciate it. Keith, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Next time we have you on, I want to talk about you told me some stories that had me laughing, and I've been telling around because you just cracked me up, and next time we'll have to get into some of those stories and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope you remember what they were, because I don't.
Oh, I sure do. I do remember.
Okay.
The neat thing about them is that a few of them are actually true.
Somebody, I was in rehab after my neck surgery, and I told a bunch of the people up there in rehab some of my stories, and one of them caught somebody that treasure hunts with me a lot, and said, is all the stories he says, are they true? And he said, well, let me put it this way. I've been around him for a decade, and every time I hear the story, it's the same. So it has to be true to be the same every time.
You're right.
I said, he's got a point.
That's funny.
I have enough of true ones. I don't need to make anything up.
Right. All the years you've been at it, you sure don't need to make anything up. No doubt. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being on. Dorian, thank you for hosting with me. I sure appreciate it, guys. Good night.
You take care of that leg.
I am. It's going up here as soon as we get off.
All righty. Good night, everybody.
Right, good night. Well, there you have it. Boy, them guys are it's always fun to have Keith on. And a like to give a shout out to some folks. We Dig the Civil War headquarters. That's Dorian's website. Great information, great conversations. Zero Discrimination on Facebook and as also on YouTube. Girls Rock Metal Detecting, same thing. Ohio Relic Hunting, and Dirt Pirates Detecting Group. Ohio Relic Facebook group as well. Geesh, I'm a hot mess. I'm ready to get off here, I think. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Hopefully everybody will tune in next week. I don't know if Jeff will be here or not, but hopefully it didn't offend him too bad. Good night, everybody, and thanks for tuning in.